Hi, this is Ray with To the Trade, and I have Niall here. Hi, Niall.
Hi.
And we have a wonderful guest for you. I'm so excited to talk to Ruben. Ruben, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and your design company.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ruben Marquez. I'm an interior designer based out of Pasadena, California. We work all over, not only within California, San Francisco, Lake Tahoe, but also um, Mexico, Dubai, Singapore, and yeah, everywhere in between. So we're also worldwide. But anyway,
Yeah,
luxury
yeah.
high end. My work is right behind me, as you can see. A little preview.
Great.
Yeah, I've been doing this for about almost 15 years now. Worked under other designers beforehand, so very proud of the work that we've been doing over the years.
You
So
do great work. As I said, you're one of my ones to watch. And I was very excited that you were agreeing to come on to our podcast. I want to start from the very beginning. What initially got you into an interest in design? Was it from the very beginning or
Ooh.
I
I
know.
I've always been exposed to design actually. My parents growing up, they've always had rental properties. So whenever my dad would buy a new house, my mom and I and my father and my brother, we would kind of like demo it ourselves, paint, put up the new cabinets, pick up the light fixtures. So I was always around home design, not realizing it was going to be a career path for myself. I always thought I was going to be a pilot, flying planes. That was like what I wanted to do when I was a kid, not interior design or even architecture. So I was always doing something with design, with construction, with even architecture. I helped my dad build the plans for the homes we were remodeling, take it to the city, get the permits, get the stamp, and all of that. Not again, not realizing this was what I was going to be doing. I was just kind of doing it as obligation to the family. So
Right. Yeah. Did you love it? Was that
I
something that you
did. I did, and as I got older, like in high school, I would build models of homes that just came to mind, like, just I still have a couple of them. I built them from scratch, not knowing anything about scale, anything about proportion. I just kinda eyeballed it. It's really crazy what my mind was able to come up with. I would go through magazines like Architectural Digest, cut out rug uh, pictures and put them on the floor, curtains and put them on the window, chandeliers, make them 3D. I was a weird kid. I'm not gonna lie about that.
No, I
All
love
my
it. I
friends
love
thought I
it.
was crazy and.
I think, being a person who has creativity, is one of the most, you can tell it at a young age, I think. That's one of
Right,
those things that you don't know where that creativity is going to go, where it's going to
right.
be driven. But I can always tell the kids who are creative, sometimes it's just by necessity. I grew up pretty isolated, so we had to be
Mhm.
creative or I'd be very bored.
Yeah, same.
In your early experiences, do you think that there was anything in particular that shaped your design aesthetic?
Hmm, I don't know, I think traveling. I think as
Traveling,
I as
yeah.
I gotten older, I was able to travel to more places and see more, see how people live in different parts of the world. I think that is very critical for a designer to do is to travel to different places. If you can't travel overseas, travel within the country, the United States. We have a lot of beautiful architecture here too. And I think that really helped see, you know, the different kinds of history that's been, that has taken place over the years and what kind of architecture has evolved from prehistoric times even. And so I think being exposed to all of that has really evolved my design aesthetic. And
Right.
meeting different clients that have seen different parts of the world too. They, have homes all over the place and they want to evolve their style as as they age, as they grow. And I think that also is a part of it.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm a big believer that, so much of the United States is influenced by other places. So even sometimes spending time where you actually do live and really looking at details, like
Yeah,
really pay attention to the things you might have walked by a million times but never noticed.
right.
The millwork and that in a building or the railings on a building or just a statue, like, pay
Exactly.
attention to the small details because often those are inspired
Yeah.
by European, or Roman, like, I mean, or
Exactly.
Asian. There are lots of influences in the United States. We're a melting pot. So there's lots of really interesting influences here in the United States. What was there a defining moment that set your career on your current path? Was there something that you were like, and then you just decided to go this way?
It kind of just happened by, it was very serendipitous. When I went off on my own, I was networking like crazy. I was just hustling and bustling just like everybody else and just really putting myself out there and trying to put get my footing in place. And then I met a few architects that kind of said, "Hey, we like what you've done. We like your drawings. We like your knowledge of construction. Maybe we can give you a shot on this one job." And then one job became two, became three, and they kind of just perpetuated from there. And, here we are doing multiple projects with the same people, and it's become this whole thing. And we're very proud of that.
So
Um,
what did that feel like in the very beginning? I'm just gonna ask because I think that because you got those repeat clients right away, my thought is you got that first you were hungry for that first
right.
job, and first opportunity, and when you got it, you probably worked way harder than what you were being paid for,
Yep,
and
definitely.
were overly communicating, overly over delivering every minute of the way so that you could just, like, knock them their socks off so that they would become
Right.
repeat clients. How did you do that not knowing the process?
Well, I did work for a previous designer who did similar work. So I already had that kind of level of experience of
Sure.
beforehand. So it was kind of like, okay, I'm really on my own this time. I'm doing this by myself, and the stakes are really high. I cannot fail. I don't want to fail. I have to prove myself. So it was like the stakes were much higher than when you're working with someone
Oh,
else
absolutely.
and your
The
name
pressure's
is
on.
there. Yeah, oh, totally, totally. It's
Yeah,
very nerve-wracking, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, am I even capable? Like, I've done it a million times before, but am I capable of doing it by myself for myself?"
right.
And, you just have to
And
trust
do
your
I have
gut.
it right with, like,
Right.
the contract and the pricing and the process and the
Yep.
communication and all of those other business side that goes hand
Totally.
in hand with the creative.
So
So
I'm
that's
a firm believer of getting some experience before going off on your own. I know a lot
me
of people do that, and I'm like, "Wow, you guys are way more braver." I have more respect for those people that can. I probably wouldn't be able to do that, but I just am a huge proponent of working for somebody else beforehand and really getting to know the job at hand. And some people can either go for it, or some people go, you know what, this is too much. I can't handle the clients stressing me out and the constant phone calls and all of that. So
I think
it's
it's smart. I think I even would encourage designers to really look at why they
hmm
on their own because it is you're adding a whole other layer of stress to your
yep,
life by owning a business. And there with that comes rewards, but also there could be no rewards,
yeah, right,
depending on how your business goes. So it it's always kind of good to examine if you're the kind of person too who is able to do that. Really searching yourself like, am I better working for someone else than I am working independently for myself? Because some people can do it and some people can't. They
yep,
just get too distracted. They can't be organized. They can't figure that part out, and they can really hurt themselves
right,
financially by getting
totally.
in. Yeah, absolutely. Who were some of your biggest influences when you were starting out? Was there someone that you just
Ooh,
admired greatly?
my God, there's so many. Oh my gosh, that's a good question. Let me
No,
think
it's
about
hard.
that for a
You don't wanna
second.
say you don't wanna say anything where you're like, "Oh, that one person's gonna be like, it's me, right?"
No, I have a really good clique of designer friends that we talk every day. We share ideas. We bounce ideas off of each other. If we're in a pickle, I'll call up my friends. Hey, I have this situation. What would you do? And that's, it's been a great, it's kind of like a mentorship, but it's also like, let me just vent to you for a second and then see what you think. But in terms of specific people, like somebody big or somebody
Well,
not so
whoever
big.
it doesn't have to be I was thinking maybe it's your grandmother. You have such a sweet
Yeah.
relationship with your grandmother.
Yes,
So
and,
maybe that.
you know what? You're right. Thank you for bringing that up because she just passed away, right before
Yeah,
Christmas, and
I
thank you for
know.
your message, by the way.
I oh,
Yeah, thank you, that was very sweet. Yeah, I was very close to her, and She was always my biggest cheerleader, always like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you." And, she didn't really know what I did. She knew what I did, but she didn't really know how she didn't know the specifics of what interior design is. She just thought, "Oh, I just fluff pillows all day long or something." I don't know. But no, she was my biggest cheerleader. She was always rooting for me and always, ever since I was a little kid at school, at my swim team, just everything. She was always there. Every graduation, she was there. She made it a point to be there. And I think our relationships with our grandmothers are very sacred. They're very unique.
I
And
think so too.
we always want
I
to,
had a very strong relationship with both my
yeah,
grandmothers, and they both made me who I am in part because of who they are. They always
yeah,
say that, a lot of genetics skip a generation,
right.
so, you're much more likely personality to be closer to your grandparents than your own parents usually.
That's very
Uh,
true. I think that's true. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Um, so, like, Pasadena and Southern California, are they a part of your work, or do you try to transcend that Southern California design aesthetic?
I I think it starts in Pasadena, and then it kinda like the people that we work with have either outgrown living here or they've wanna have a second or third home out of state, and then they wanna bring some of that California resemblance over to wherever they're going, whether it's Lake Tahoe, Idaho, San Francisco even, which is technically California. Um, like, what am I saying? But it's a different vibe up there than
No,
here in
absolutely,
Pasadena.
Yeah,
totally different vibe.
absolutely.
It really
Yeah.
is.
People think California,
Um,
they think palm trees, they think, the
yeah,
beach and all of that, but San
yeah,
Francisco is a whole different thing. It's kinda like it's reminiscent of, like, I would say New York
yeah,
City.
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. Do you have a specific design philosophy that you could give to us in a few words? Like, what is something that you're deeply passionate about as far as design?
I really love Jeannie Chung, your friend.
I love her. She's
Her and
on
I
our
were just kind
board.
of
We love
talking about
Jean.
that, in Paris, by the way, last month. We were talking about that, and I said, and we were both kind of agreeing to this. We said that we like to design things that you don't see every day, that you don't see. I don't want to say the word ad nauseum, but kind of ad nauseum because you see the same certain elements in multiple photos, multiple, publications even. And it's kind of like redundant, like, okay, I've seen the same white kitchen over and over again.
Indeed.
So
Right.
what can we as designers do to break the dialogue, the visual, and create something that the eye is like, "Oh, wow, like, that's different, or that's
Yeah.
cool." Make
Yes.
people scared a little bit, but then it's not too bold at the end of the day.
Right. Right.
So,
Well,
I
Or
guess
he does that spectacularly well, and so do
is
you.
me.
I see that in the choices of, materials that you're using, and I think that's really something that every designer should aspire to, not just in the
Right.
design philosophy as far as, like, the work, but also in what we talk about in the world of interior design. I'm personally so, so tired of talking about color. Like, I just can't talk about color another time. I can't even listen to another person talk about color. I love coloring. It's not that I don't, it's just, like, I'm just so bored with it. I'm like,
Right.
it feels very, like, "Oh, florals for spring, groundbreaking." It feels very that to me. I'm just like, "All right, designers talking about color."
Right, right.
Do you have a signature approach to luxury interiors? Is there something that you start with and then layer?
Phew, that is a very every project is different
Yes,
because people start off in different ways. Some people have nothing to go off of, so that's like a blank slate. Typically the
right.
dream kind of jobs, right? And then sometimes we have people that, "Oh, I have this antique, or I have this rug, or I have this art that I have to have in this house." And you look at it, you're like, "Oh, wow, that's something." It's either
Sure,
good or bad, but I get it, there's sentimental value to it, so I can't really judge all the way like that. I
sure.
have to respect their belongings, their things, and their family heirlooms, and, we can't just say, "No, you can't have that in there." Even though in my
Right.
head, I'm like, "Oh, do we really want that in here in this beautiful new home that we're building, or can we put that somewhere else?"
Right, right.
So it's different for different projects, but I try to see the whole, if I'm given a floor plan or if I'm seeing an existing home, I'm already kind of envisioning what I'm going to do before I even hear the client speak. Because I know they saw my portfolio, they see the book, they see our website and our Instagram page. So I know that they want something similar to that caliber of work. So I'm already expecting them to say, like, I want something like you did here, or I want something like you did over there at this house. So I'm already kind of expecting that kind of discussion with them.
Sure. I actually, that's giving me a thought. So I had a designer who reached out to me this weekend, and she was sort of upset about another designer who was maybe a little too inspired by her work. I mean, I looked at them side by side,
Oh,
looked very, very close.
okay.
Very, very close. Um, but of course it's not intellectual. It's not couldn't be, it's not something legal, it's intellectual property. It's, different materials, but the design itself looks very similar. How do you deal with that when they are loving a specific image and maybe they found something that you have and I just love that. I would love that bathroom, but you've already designed that bathroom for a different client.
Right,
How do
right.
you translate that and talk them out of copying the
Right,
thing
right.
already done?
Totally, totally. That's something that we try not to do. I say, you know what, that bathroom or that kitchen was for that home, for that client. I know you love it. I love it too. But you know what? We're on this next level with your home. I think we can create something better than that. And we can use it as a source of inspiration, but let's take it to the next level. Let's see how we can up it up a little bit, take it to a whole
And make it
different
personal
world.
to you, right?
Yeah,
Which is
for you, like
yeah,
you came up to me because you wanted something different, you wanted something cool and fun, and if we do something that already exists, well, then we're not being cool, we're not being different, we're being the same. And why are
right,
you hiring me then?
right, right.
So when
I
I say
mean,
it like that, then they're like, "Oh, okay," then they start to open up their minds a little bit more and
do they
expand
ever
their.
push back? Do they ever say, "No, no, I really want"
Some do, because I get it, they're familiar, they see it, it already
Sure.
happened.
We're very visual people. I mean,
Right,
humans are visual. We like if we
right,
see it, we say we want it. I want
right,
it. Want what I see. But
right,
it
right,
doesn't
right,
we can't imagine what could be,
right, right, right.
that
But,
you can. You're a
I can be
designer,
pretty
but they
convincing sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I listen to
That's
them, I let them go on about what they want, and then
Yeah.
little psychology goes a long way too. So that's another part of our job that nobody really talks
Yes.
about, that we have to persuade
Exactly.
people.
Yeah.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. And I always try to I'm it's very sympathetic. Like in this conversation with this designer over the weekend, I was very sympathetic to her because it doesn't feel good,
Right,
obviously, to have your work copied, but also can appreciate what that other designer might have been going through too.
right,
Because, it could have been a design assistant, it could have been a client insisting, it could have been a
exactly.
number of factors, that and it's a small industry. It's like we're all
Yep,
gonna see each other's work. So it's very tricky and tough
yep,
and layered and,
definitely.
that kind of thing. Um, what's your signature approach, in communication with clients? Do you doing something special to lure them in, to get them interested in you? Is it mostly Instagram they're coming from?
So here's like I was just talking to somebody this weekend about that. Because they asked me that same question, and I said, you know what? I treat it like it's gonna sound really weird. I treat it kind of like dating. You don't want to chase people. You want to be chased, or yeah, chased. So when I, first went off on my own, I never told people what I did. I would get involved in, a couple charities with people in our industry or in our community rather. And I wanted them to ask me what I did. So I would give them little hints like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I have a client meeting tomorrow, but I can meet on Thursday. How's that? I can help with the gala." And then they would say, "Oh, what client? Well, are you a realtor? Like, what do you do?" They go, "Oh, no, I'm an interior designer." And they're like, "Oh, I have a home in La Cañada. Like, I'm thinking about renovating. Can you come over?" I said, "Oh, yeah, sure. When do you have time?" So that's kind of like how I, you know, not
Yeah.
I
trick
love it.
people, but I kind of like get people to, inquire
Yes.
about what I do, and then eventually, hire us to help them out. So
Yes. no one likes somebody. I just experienced someone, and I don't want to name names, but a design coach uh friended me on Facebook. I did not accept the friend request. I don't know this
Mm.
is coach. I got 3 over the weekend, 3 DMs from this design
Oh,
coach
wow.
asking me to sign up for their workshop. There's limited seating and blah, blah, blah. I was just like, first of all, I'm the wrong person. I'm not a designer.
Mhm.
I work for interior design community. And secondly, wow, like the wrong way to get an interior
The
designer to be a
aggression, yeah.
coach thing. Like you couldn't be more, you couldn't have worse marketing than doing that,
Right. And when
you
people
know?
say limited seating or limited availability, that means there's so much available.
Yeah, then why
I
did you message me 3
Right, then
times? You're so
why are you
limited.
trying to, like, right, exactly. It's a sign for me personally, it's a sign of weakness,
Yes.
when you're trying to be so aggressive and it's like, because 'cause I've had realtors, hit us up, for our rental properties. "Are you selling this house? Are you selling this house?" I'm like, "No, we're not selling this house," and if I were, I would know who to call and it wouldn't be you.
Right.
So
Right. Right. It's just that
so
desperation that you don't
yeah,
wanna have, like, on you. You don't want
right.
that,
And you're
and
viewed
that's
as a weaker party, and if you are desperate and you show it, the other party, the hiring side, they're gonna see like, "Oh, we can take advantage of that person. They're hungry. So let's bring
right,
them down in price." It
right.
devalues you to on so
It
many
does.
levels, in my opinion.
It
So
absolutely no, it's not an opinion. It really in sales psychology, that's
right,
absolutely true. If they don't
right,
think they think that you need the sale,
right.
then they have leverage. That's just
Yep.
like how
Yep.
sales work.
Right,
I have leverage on price then because you really need this.
right.
So, I mean, we would do the same thing. If we how many of us go in and buy a car at the end of the month because we know they like salesman needs that sale, right? I mean, we use the same thing against other people. Of course, we get it used against us as well.
Yep.
When you can you walk me through your design process, the concept all the way to completion? What does that look like for a client?
So in the very beginning, we asked them for any inspiration images, whether it's through Instagram, Pinterest, magazine cutouts, from any magazine. And, we kind of get an idea through their head, like what they're gravitating to. Sometimes they won't have a clue. They'll just say, we like your work. Just do what you do, which is my favorite thing to hear.
Ooh,
I'm like,
nice. Yeah.
yes. And then, so we put together mood boards, virtual mood boards. We presented to them in person. I want to see them face to face. I want to see their reaction to things. I want to see if there's a smirk, or if there's a smile, like, ooh, or I don't know about that, because that'll be very revealing to me as to what they want and what they don't want so that we
Right.
can proceed to the next phase of the project. So we start
And you
with
do
the
that all
images.
virtually.
No,
You're
in person. We do it on
all
like
in person.
we bring like an iPad or we bring our
Oh,
laptop, or they
yeah.
come to my office, or I come to their home or office, depending on the situation. And then I show them slide by slide, and then I want to see their face. I want to know how they're reacting. And then from there we take a lot of notes, and then after that we take them. If it's a new build, we take them shopping for appliances, for plumbing fixtures, for all that stuff. Put a package together with the vendor, Snyder Diamond Ferguson, and then after that, we produce all the construction drawings, all the, for the cabinetry, the bathroom layouts, the lighting plan, furniture plan. And then subsequently, after all that's been nailed down and submitted to the contractors, we proceed to the furniture phase. And then we take them shopping, and then put together a collage of all the furniture per room. And then we have like a little spreadsheet next to it as to, the associated cost with each thing that we're looking at, so that they have an idea on what it's gonna cost. That's always the number one question here. How much is it gonna cost? How much is it? How
Mhm.
much is it? How much longer is it gonna take? Like, so
Yeah,
I have to
to
have
be
all these
possible.
answers. Yeah, I have to have all those answers ready to go because I know they're gonna ask me that. And I tell them, like,
Right.
when we order furniture, we have it shipped to a receiving warehouse locally. They inspect it, they photograph it, I log in, I make sure it's the right piece. I'll go there like maybe once a month to look at it in person, and then we schedule a time to install it, when the house is done and ready.
Right.
So that's in a nutshell, in Cliff Notes version, that's like how it goes.
I love that. I love that. It's and that's I would say that's pretty typical. Um I do you ever have any conflict between in that early stage with the client? Well, there are a couple of parts that were interesting to me. So do you have any conflict with the client if it's a husband-wife team? Are you giving them separate directives so that you can kind of collectively see what they individually like, or do you have them do that together?
I try to have them do it together. That's always, to me, the best efficient way. That way, you're not having multiple conversations that are so different, and then you're like, it's like having two clients for the same
Right.
project.
Right.
It's like I try to get them together on the same page. Sometimes the husband will say, you know what, leave it to my wife, but keep me
Mhm.
informed on the budget.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, fine.
Sure. That's good. And then the other question I thought that was kind of interesting is you do this all virtually mood board. You're not making physical mood boards, which I think is really cool. Because I think a lot of designers spend a lot of time on the physical mood board
Right.
thing. Are you using a specific kind of mood board, or which tool do you use for that?
We kind of do a hybrid between PowerPoint and InDesign,
Okay.
and we kind of just put it all together there because it's easy to insert and subtract things on the slide, whereas on a physical board, you're cutting. It's very, I want to say, I don't want to say the word antiquated. It's more for like showcase houses when you're submitting for a showcase house. I
Yeah.
can see why a physical board would be more, would be better option for that because you're dealing with a committee, you're dealing with a bunch of people voting and electing, designs for a room.
Right. Right.
So,
You might want to look at I did come across one I think is really interesting. They're called Matto board.
oh,
And
okay.
the reason I like them is that they look like real mood boards and that you can look it's virtual, but you can see, like, the thickness of the countertop, or you can pick the
Uh,
piece up, you can move light around it so that it shows, like, how it really looks to me. I
really?
I I think it's
Okay.
really interesting.
Even if you
So,
bring in your own images into it, it can do that?
I think so.
Or
I
the
think they have a whole system for that. I mean, the person that it founded it is a London designer who is like has only done like private island houses
oh,
and
wow.
this, and so he has a very elevated version of what obviously a mood board should look like, and they're really pretty good. I was kind
What
of
was it called?
impressed.
I'm gonna write it down.
It's Natto board,
Nat
Mattoboard. So check
oh,
those guys out, and I think I can get you a pro version too. So
cool. I'll check
I'll
it
just
out.
message because I just had a conversation with them last week. I think they're really cool. So you've worked internationally. This is the scoop. I wanna hear all about, and I know every designer listening wants to hear what that is a dream for so many designers. Whenever I poll designers, like, "What would be your dream project?" It's always an international project, always. So, tell us what are the real challenges working internationally with clients?
The number one challenge in my view, in my experience, is the metric system. Because they don't
Well,
use
I
the same metric
honestly
system
that's
that
what
we
I
do
would
here.
think.
We would get a floor plan and the metric is different.
Yeah.
You have to scale the whole plan to inches, to quarter inch or however, whatever scale you use. That's like and getting it right because if you mess up, all your furniture that you're putting into these floor plans,
Yep.
I don't even wanna know. But
Oh
that's
gosh.
yeah, so I had to, like, triple check, quadruple check, make sure it's the right
So
scale, the right every
measurements are the hardest
mhm.
because of the metric system. And how about material? How about getting the vendor relationships in
The
other
material, surprisingly, was not challenging because,
No.
the owners flew us to Italy to select all the marble. They sourced everything, whether it's here in the US or, Italy or Dubai, depending on what they have, because they have limited resources over there, so a lot of it has to be
Yeah,
imported.
Dubai's tough. I have, designers in Dubai. I have designers who do work in Dubai.
Mhm.
There are some brands that we know and love that
Right,
have distribution there, but but even that distribution that they have is much more limited.
right. It's very
And
limited, so you have to import
yeah,
everything from outside.
and that's tricky. I mean, that can be shipping nightmare.
Yeah,
But,
totally.
they have that kind of budget. It's okay. It's
Mhm.
just a lot of warehousing, a lot of receivership, a lot of
Exactly.
waiting really to
Right.
do it at the time. Um, I know. Are you making more money on international projects versus American projects?
That is an interesting question. I would say they're almost equal. People think we
Okay.
make more money international because it's Dubai, it's this and that, but it's
Right.
because you're spending more time, you know, executing the jobs overseas when you're not physically there all the time. And when
Right.
you're there, you're only there for a limited time and you're trying to cram in as much as you can. So I would say it's about equal
Right.
than what you would think.
Right.
If you were to dissect every single, part of the project
Let's
and,
pull it
and
apart
you know,
because
right.
it's all about, yeah. I mean, it's probably you might make more on this section, but less on
Correct.
this section. I mean, there's going to
Exactly.
be things that take you much longer to do because it's
Hmm.
international, like you said with the measuring, triple checking, where you might not have to do
Right.
that here. Um, are there key differences between working in Pasadena and versus the global markets? Are the clients very different that have those international?
Um, they're not so much different. They're just more well traveled, I think. They see the world more than we do, I think, because they're in that part of the world and they're closer to like Europe. So they go to Europe all the time or to Asia. So they see a lot more than we do on a regular basis. And therefore they bring a lot more to the table, in my opinion, because they know more than I do. They'll say,
Right,
"Oh, there's this place in London that I want you to check out. They have great pieces for this and this and this." And it's like, I never would have thought of that or even know to look for that.
sure, yeah.
So,
It could be a small brand that you're not
right,
that you're not getting that kind of information here in the United States. So,
right,
and I
right,
know the Middle East, they have a lot of design coming in from the UK. Like it's
right,
a lot of the designers that come to the Middle Eastern events or
right.
speak. I mean, they definitely have their own style in Dubai, but they are heavily influenced by British design, I think.
Totally, totally.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm sure there are a lot of, like, certain, they want the Pierre Frey.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right.
They love the
Um,
UK and they love Americans. They love
right,
anything
they do.
American, fashion, they love American
Yeah,
brands. And I mean, they love everything, they just love all that.
yeah. I mean, Caracol is
Yeah.
selling and,
Yep.
so I mean, absolutely. What shifts do you see in the luxury design industry today? Is there anything changing that you can see coming down the road?
I'm noticing a lot more traditional design is having a resurgence, if you will. I think we went through a period of modern, modern, modern. And
Right,
now I think people are appreciating antiquities, old things, vintage, because part of it I think is people don't want to wait so long. So going to an antique shop, it's done, it's there, it exists. You can just buy it off the floor and create, your space with it. And so I'm seeing a little bit of a resurgence in traditional design, high-end traditional design, lots of
right,
moldings but more refined, not so goopy, not so baroque, if you will,
right,
more refined, traditional, I guess is what I meant
right.
to say.
Yeah,
Um, so I'm
I
noticing
can see
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and are you what do you think about the color drenching moment that everyone is talking about?
I mean, I'm kind of liking it. I just did that to my bedroom at home before it was even a thing. And
Right,
I love the way it makes me feel. I come home late at night after a long day, and this color drenching thing, it decompresses you. It makes you relaxed. It
Yeah.
makes you want to go to bed and you fall asleep like that. Some people have a hard time sleeping, like myself. And I darken my room like a taupey gray color. And I feel so good when I come home. Oh my gosh, I feel so relaxed. I can sleep, I can read. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
oh,
I
I
don't know
love
about
that.
doing a whole house in color drenching. I don't know about the whole home, but a room or
Right.
two, like a den or a
Mhm.
study or
Mo
even a bedroom.
a moment it's the moments that you would want that feeling.
Right,
You like,
right,
you want to because not every moment do you wanna be relaxed.
right,
You not
right,
be
right.
walking around like, "Ugh."
Well, I don't know. I want to be relaxed in every moment. I
Oh,
do.
would
So
it?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
I
really?
I wanna be
I don't
You
want to
relaxed.
know
be
how
tense. I
energy
don't want to be. I don't
sometimes?
want to walk around and be tense everywhere. So
No, not
yeah,
tense, but,
I'd like
like,
to be relaxed all the time. Yes.
Color
relaxed all the
drenching.
time?
Yes, I'll take that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's surprise well, it doesn't kind of surprise me about you, Niall,
Yeah. Who wouldn't
really.
want? Who? Who wouldn't want to be relaxed all the time?
I like sometimes feeling energy. I sometimes have an easy time relaxing, so I want to feel like I want to feel
Uh,
energy.
I guess for me, the opposite of relaxed is high strung.
Well, I'm high
So
strung a lot.
yeah, well, so yeah, because so for me, it's like I can be relaxed. Like I can have a workout and I'm relaxed. Like I'm having a great workout. It's high energy, but I'm relaxed. Like I don't feel any anxiety. I'm not high strung.
Oh,
But I would think the opposite of relaxed is like you're like high strung. So it's an anxious moment. You know what I
I
mean?
I don't I probably I don't actually feel anxious very often.
Maybe
I don't have
maybe it's
it.
because
Or
I do
hurt
feel.
that. That's
Maybe
one
it's because
thing.
I do feel
I'm
anxious
so
a lot. So
I know a lot of people who struggle with anxiety, and
yeah,
I don't struggle with anxiety. I don't struggle with like imposter syndrome at all. I'm
yeah.
like usually I'm like, I'm pretty cool actually. You pretty much you should like me. I'm pretty nice.
Yeah.
You
You
are
should
cool,
like me.
Lori.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
I
the opposite
feel
of
everybody
imposter
does
syndrome.
like me. I mean, I what why wouldn't they like me? I'm nice. Like I'm not a jerk. I think the reason you shouldn't like someone is because they're a jerk.
Right.
Not like, you know?
Now, not really, but that's a topic for a whole other show. Sorry,
Right.
Ruben. Sorry.
Next episode.
How important is sustainability to you in design?
I mean, I try to be sustainable in my own little
That's hard.
ways, but it's
That's
very
hard.
Yeah.
hard in what we
This
do.
industry is not
It's
exactly
hard.
easy on
Yeah.
sustainability.
Yeah.
Are there clients where you just had the fire, in California, which is very tough on so many people. And of course, Jean and I went in communication about it. I worked behind the scenes on some relief efforts as much as I possibly could to get donations. Are people thinking about at least version of that will give them the ability to have fire retardant materials, better air control, better air filtration, water filtration? Are they insisting on that more in homes? We just interviewed someone yesterday, an architect who was saying that the new builds where, where these homes were burned down, there's a lot of urban planning conversation about making that more dense.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, that's going to have pluses and minuses, right?
Right. Of course.
But I'm curious if clients are talking to you about that. If they're starting to say, that talk about passive home design in any way, or how that might play. And I mean, there's some of that is sustainable already in effort.
Mhm.
So, but it's more about climate control, climate hazard prevention, things like that.
They're starting to bring up that conversation. I'm seeing a lot of articles out there about using fire retardant on exteriors, some kind of like, different materials instead of what we use every day here because of what just happened. Like I was at a client's house 2 weeks ago and, his home is right on the hill, on the foothill. Every time I look at the mountain, all I think about is a fire. I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, we're one fire away from, God forbid, this house.
right.
And he mentioned that, they're talking about possibly doing like a sprinkling system around the perimeter of his
Yeah,
home, to prevent any fires from coming over. I don't know how that's going to work out, but that's something that he's bringing up to the table.
right.
And, it's a valid point. Absolutely.
Well, a lot of that, like keeping the air and embers out of
Right.
the attic
Right.
and any sort of
Hmm.
um sprinkler system. But
Right.
also like even for current clients, if you're in the vicinity of a fire where it's not affecting your home, but you're breathing in that air, you're
Right.
drinking water where those particles are going into the water. I mean, air filtration, water filtration, to get that to be, you know, better than what a typical house would have,
Hmm.
boost that up as much as you can because that
Right.
is what you're breathing today,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
part of, but it's it's horrible to watch what happened, and we feel for, I mean, watching it was just tragic, and I know that there are a lot of people thinking about how to approach it and from a design perspective to give people as best chance as they can, in that environment. And it's good to hear that there are a lot of people that care and want
Yeah.
to make sure that any rebuild has a lot of longevity,
Right.
that kind of. Um, what are the biggest lessons you've learned about running a design business?
Lessons. My gosh, I am learning something every day, all day long. Like I was mentioning to you earlier, this is my first podcast, and I am like, what do I do? What do I talk about?
How hard is
And here we
it?
are.
Not, we're 40 minutes in, it's not as hard as anyone thinks. There's a
I
lot
guess
to.
the lesson in business is, you have to just keep trying every day and every day. Surround yourself with very good people that you admire, that put into high regard, because they're going to teach you a lot, just like you're going to teach them a lot. And
Sure.
I don't know, I just think we have to keep learning every day, because, we're getting, we're doing a really good business. We're doing a good service for people. We're creating beautiful homes. And it's not always easy. People think it's easy.
Yeah,
People think we fluff pillows all day long. I'm like, no,
absolutely.
it's not exactly that. I wish maybe,
No.
but no.
No.
It's a lot
And
more complex.
I love that that's one of your philosophies, because I think it's two things that I think that designers listening should probably pay attention to. First, you said you need to learn every day. And I
Yeah,
think that is absolutely true in this industry and actually in life in general. If you aren't the kind of
totally.
person who is trying to learn new things, trying to incorporate new things, reading, paying
Yep.
attention to what other people are doing, trying and testing things to make sure they're working and looking
Right.
at data, those things are, just always trying to get better at what you do and as the craft. And then also, you talked about having these collaborative relationships, surrounding yourself around people who have something to teach you, but I love that you also said that, but you can teach them too. And I think that's a missing component. I don't know how many designers I've talked to through the years who said, I don't feel like I have a community. And then I'll give them a few people. And then those people will come back to me and say, well, the designer just felt like they were, I went to lunch with that person and then they just wanted to pick my ear the entire time. And
Mm,
then I didn't feel like I felt like it was a one-way
mm,
situation, you
right.
know? And you have to approach those relationship building things as collaborative, even if you think you don't have anything to give. If you're asking them something, about their process, be prepared to share something about your process that is
Correct.
interesting. You cannot be in a collaborative relationship with peers in the industry where you're taking and never giving. And
Exactly.
I think a lot of designers get that wrong, and it's not their fault. They're going in, they're super excited. They want to learn the thing that they came to learn, and they're not thinking, sometimes maybe not having that confidence to think they have anything to give back, but it leaves a sour taste in that person's mouth that
Right. Right.
that you're trying to get information from, that you're just taking from them. Like,
Right.
why would I want to spend a half an hour from somebody who just wants a one-sided, like,
Right.
quiz show relationship where they just got sucked all the information they could out of your brain and then just left? Um, that's not fun for anybody.
Right.
So you have to make sure that you're doing that the correct way. So having something to give, not just bursting in on people, you
Right.
know,
Right.
not, finding the right moment to have those relationships and conversations, and then being prepared to give back, because and actually genuinely wanting to be friends. I know,
Oh, totally. Totally. It's like
like,
dating, like I was saying earlier.
yes,
You
it
don't want to
is.
just
The
date
whole
someone just
thing
to
is like
date. I mean,
dating.
you have to
You don't
really
want to
know
be a
the
jerk.
person.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. I mean,
it's like you're wasting your time. I think you're wasting your time if you're just taking. It's
yes,
not
yeah.
good for you. It's not good for the other person. I don't know. I can't do that.
I can't either, and I don't think that's how you get friendship relationships in this
Right.
industry, by being that way. You have to be willing to share information with each other. I
Right.
mean, and if anything, you should try to go and be prepared to give more than what you're going to get.
Exactly.
You know,
Yep.
that's what I
Agreed.
would do for sure. Do you have any beyond that? Do you have any other advice for an up and coming designer who's just starting out today? what's something else that you think that they should be thinking about?
Um, any young designer, I tell this all the time, they should think about apprenticeship with other designers that they like. Who do you like in your area that you would like to work with? Call them up, say, hey, do you need any interns? Can I be your design assistant for a couple days? Just kind of like learning how they work, how they, how they run their firm, and learning. I would never, ever, like I said earlier, never go into business right away without any experience because
Yeah.
that is dangerous territory. And I don't, yeah, you need to really see how the work is done and dealing with different kinds of people from architects, contractors, clients, and everywhere in between. It's going to be a lot of different personalities, a lot of different dialogues, and you have to have the capacity in your brain to handle all of that at the same time.
Sure.
And that's why learning how people work, how to do things differently, and what the best way of doing things is very critical to our business because we have a lot of components that we're dealing with that we're overseeing. And it's not just fluffing a pillow and then saying how pretty it is. It is
Oh,
full orchestra of like a musician or whatever you want to call it.
yeah, it is.
It's a
It's a
lot.
composer, and
Yeah,
there's a
composure. There you go.
thousand
That's what I
million
meant.
a thousand moving parts at all
Yep.
any given time, and the only time you actually fluff the pillow is the last day.
It's the very last day if you're lucky.
I mean, you're working on this project for 2 years, and you get to fluff
Right.
the pillow one day, and
Yep.
that
Yep.
among a million other things you have to do
That's what they
that.
think that we do is to fluff the pillow that one last day out of 2 years of work. It's like
Yes,
that's
Right.
what people think we do. It's
I
so funny.
know.
It's like the tip of the iceberg and then all this hard work that no one sees underwater.
Right,
It's
right.
very
I I absolutely agree, and I think start that. The other thing that I would throw on there as a layer is start that in college.
oh yeah.
When you're in school and you've decided you want to be a designer, the moment you've decided you want to be a designer, before you even gotten the education that you need to get, start to follow designers you enjoy, communicate with them, like their posts, comment on their posts, ask them questions about their work. What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? What do you think is interesting about it? What do you think is their inspiration? Be thoughtful about what it is they were trying to do with the design and actually
Right.
comment, instead of like saying, that's pretty, how beautiful. Actually say, I really love the millwork in that project. How long did that take you to figure that out? That to me shows actual interest rather
Right.
than that's beautiful. And then by the time you finish school, you will have relationships, like actual relationships in this industry
Right. Right.
that and have shown that you actually are paying attention
Exactly.
to, to what people are doing. And you might have a job from that
Yeah, you
because,
never know, and
you know,
they welcome it. I mean, people say like, "Oh, I don't know, they're not gonna respond to me. They're too big or they're too this."
Mhm.
Like, no, they will see it and they will respond. They actually
right,
like it when you reach out to them
right.
about things like that because they want to, take a break from their everyday and then, help someone else for a
Or
little
just
bit.
have
So,
someone that notices the details. I
yeah,
mean, so often people notice it's beautiful. That's easy to
right.
see and say,
And
but
say, yeah,
someone who's paying attention to the details, you know, that's much more interesting to a designer. I mean, that's
right,
speaking
right,
their
right.
language, so speak their language and talk to them and develop a relationship with them while you're in school and while you're learning. And that could
Hmm.
set you up for an internship. That could set you up for, start and I tell them too, start your Instagram like you want to work for somebody while you're in school. Once you're
Right,
finished school, you don't have anything to share because you haven't a job yet.
right, right,
So
right.
you don't have like the mood boards and the concept drawings and all of the things you were doing in school. You do have that while you're in school. So start that now and start those relationships now with
Yep,
people you
it's
want a
never
job
too
from.
late.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, how do you manage the balance between creativity and business operations? That's a hard one for everybody.
That is a very hard one. Oh my gosh. And I don't think there's a clear answer for that because every day is very different.
Sure.
One day I could be on the field with, contractors and architects and kind of doing a walkthrough and then trying to figure out, what the next step on the project would be and doing, our whole process from there. And then one day I'm just in the office, just dealing with my bookkeeper who I adore, but I'm like, oh God, I have to do this today, really?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, here's all my expenses for this month, and adding it up, typing it in. She's like, is this personal? Is this business? And
Yeah.
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's different every day. It's not a like every Monday is this day, and every Friday is it varies.
It's as it
Um,
comes. You take it
it's
as it
as it
comes. For
comes,
her.
and I'm kind of aware of it. I know it's coming. I know, like, okay, well, we have to do that walkthrough, or I have to do bookkeeping stuff or marketing stuff or whatever stuff, and you just have to kind of just go with it and plan your every Sunday. My Sundays consist of resting, reading, coffee, boring,
You.
right? And then I'm looking at my calendar for the upcoming week. Okay, where do I have to be? I need to allocate my time according to what I have for the week. And so that's kind of like what I do on Sundays is kind of preempt myself of the week that's coming up. Like this
Right.
week, I'm going to Palm Springs on Thursday with a client of mine / Modernism Week for that event.
Right.
So I know my time in the office is going to be very limited this week, so I have to cram in as much as I can, and then the rest is Palm Springs, and then that's that.
I was
So it's
going to
all.
go. It's over Valentine's Day too, and
Oh,
I
that's
hadn't
right.
got
Yeah,
here. So, but are you going to go to Christopher Kennedy's?
I'm going to try to go to that one.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about going to the SIA party too, that cocktail
Yes.
party that I go to every year. So
Wonderful.
it's going to be fun. I
Yeah.
enjoy it very much. It's one of my favorite events of the year. So
It is really, really fantastic. Is there one habit that has contributed to your success?
one habit. Ooh, I don't know if it contributed to my success, but I would say that I have been very rigorous about working out. I go every day during the week around 4 o'clock after work, right before it gets
You're an
crowded.
afternoon workout person.
Yeah, I
I
used to
always
be
find that
morning.
I'm a morning. I have to
I
do it in the
used to be
morning.
morning, and then I don't know what happened. I think yeah, I think I just like the night better or
Yeah.
evening better because
My son loves the
you're more
night. He does
relaxed.
it at night. I don't understand. I'm like, it would key me so up. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I just wouldn't, because
Oh
the
no,
first
I
few
can
hours,
sleep. I'm the
I've
opposite.
got energy. Days. The first few
I
hours
get
after.
so tired after working out. I get hungry. I'll get like a
Yeah.
protein burger or something, and then after an hour, I'll just be like out in my
Are
I'm
my
with
you
color
you. Yeah.
drenched room.
Yeah.
lifting more, or are
Agreed.
you
Agreed.
like,
Agreed.
what kind of workout do you do? Is like lift, or do you do
I do a
more
variety. I do a little bit of
riding?
everything. Not at the same time, but like one day will be like weights, like basic weights. I'm not a weightlifter. Look at me. I'm like skinny, but or one day will be swimming. Another day will be yoga. I'll go to like a yoga class. Usually that's Fridays, Friday nights. So it just, I kind of mix it up a little bit, not to be. I don't want to do
I
the
think
same thing every single day. It's too boring for me.
that's so healthy for your body and your brain. I'm so
In your
glad that
brain, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I
For
put my
me,
phone away. I leave it in the
I love.
locker room.
Oh
I don't want to
wow,
see I
Mhm.
don't want to see a client or anybody texting me, calling me because they're going home at the same time. And
sure,
they're like, "Oh, I'm noticing this," or they're like bombarding me with all these messages. I'm like, "Oh, nope, it's after hours. That's our contract. Not after 5 o'clock. You cannot call me. You can call me,
right,
but I'm gonna return it
Smart.
the next day."
right,
So
right. Or I
That's
boundaries.
smart. That's very
boundaries
smart.
Yeah.
is super good. Are good. I do keep my because
It's very smart.
I work out in the very early morning, and so I don't love working out. I still don't love it, and I'm not one of those people who has like that runner's high or anything. I never have gotten that.
Mm,
Sorry. I just like that I have done it every time, but I don't love it while I'm doing it. So
right.
I have to keep my brain very occupied so that I cannot tell myself stop doing it. I will like listen to music. This is crazy, but I will listen to music and read a book
Oh,
at
wow.
the same time. I will listen to like
Whoa.
a playlist, and then I will also be reading a book. So
Like
I'm
classical
like,
music or like music
no,
with
full on,
singing?
like, I make sure it's something I
Oh,
can, like,
wow.
set my beat to. So
Interesting.
full on, I know it's really weird. I've never seen anyone else do it.
And you still remember what you read?
Yep.
Wow.
And
Because sometimes
sometimes,
I'm
like, I'll
rereading,
be
like, okay,
really
what
into
was
the
that part
song,
again?
and I won't pay attention to the book, but I do a lot of times I am listening to the song and reading the book at the same time.
What
So
books are you reading? I'm just curious.
I read everything. So
Okay,
I'm in book club, women's book club. So oftentimes I'm
nice.
getting to pick. We each take turns picking based on our birthdays, and
Very
so
cool.
I always can't remember the because I do. Uh, but we read a lot of like bestsellers.
Nice.
It's all color type stuff, and then we have a meeting once a month to talk about the book. But lately, I've been missing the meetings. I've been reading the books, but missing the meetings because I've had so much travel. So.
Yeah, yeah.
But I always message in and say, "This was a good one," or "I hated this one." Um, is there anything next? Any exciting projects you're really excited about?
We just broke ground on another new construction, local here to Pasadena. It's about, I want to say, almost 9,000 square feet.
Ooh,
Very cool family. They're really embracing this Indian tradition of design into this home. So it's not going to be your typical, you know, estate home, if you will. I mean, it'll still be grand in its square footage, but not in the sense of like what we do every day. So they're gonna
Mhm.
infuse a lot of Indian motifs, lighting, layers, and things like that. So I'm very excited to get
ooh,
started on that with them.
that is always
So
fun. To
yeah,
anything that gives you an inspiration viewpoint that you can really run with and
right.
experiment. That sounds wonderful. It really
Yeah,
does.
we're
Well,
buying a
thank
lot of
you
like.
so
Oh, right.
much.
That sounds so cool.
We have
Yeah,
loved talking to you. We're going to make sure that all of our listeners get your links so they can follow you on Instagram and can find your website and learn more about what a great designer you are
thank you. Oh my God,
in
this was so
person.
fun. I had a great time. Nice to
Thank
meet you,
you.
Niall. Lori.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.